you're sharing a quiet dinner with your partner. The soft glow of candlelight flickering on the table. And there's a moment of stillness that feels both comforting and heavy. You want to be close, to reconnect in a way that's always deepened your bond, but something holds you back, a hesitation, a question you're not sure how to ask. If you're in your 60s, talking about sex might feel like navigating a new landscape, one where the terrain has shifted with age, health, and years of shared history. For many seniors in America, intimacy remains a vital part of life, but the conversations around it can feel daunting. This guide, created for the Senior Health Channel, is here to help you break the silence and talk about sex with confidence. We'll explore why communication is the key to a fulfilling sex life in your 60s, offer practical ways to start these conversations, and share stories of seniors who've strengthened their relationships through honest dialogue. Our goal is to empower you to deepen your connection, embrace intimacy, and live with more joy in your golden years. Let's start by acknowledging why talking about sex in your 60s can feel challenging. Over the years, you've likely built a rhythm with your partner, patterns of communication that work for other parts of your life, like managing finances or raising kids. But sex is different. It's deeply personal, tied to your body, your emotions, and your sense of self. As you age, your body changes. Hormonal shifts, health conditions, or medications can affect desire, arousal, or comfort. You might feel embarrassed to admit that intimacy isn't as easy as it once was, or worry that your partner won't understand. Society doesn't always help, either, in the U.S. Plus, there's a lingering stigma that sex is for the young, and older adults are often left out of the conversation. But here's the truth. Intimacy matters at every age, and talking about it openly can transform your relationship. Take someone like Margaret, a 67-year-old from Ohio. She and her husband had been married for 40 years. But in recent years, intimacy had become a source of tension. Margaret was dealing with vaginal dryness after menopause, which made sex painful, but she felt too shy to bring it up. Her husband, Tom, noticed her pulling away but assumed she'd lost interest in him. The silence between them grew, and they both felt disconnected. But one evening, after a glass of wine and a deep breath, Margaret finally spoke up. She told Tom about her discomfort and how much she still wanted to be close. To her surprise, Tom was understanding. He'd been worried about his own changes, like slower arousal, but hadn't known how to say it. That conversation opened the door to new solutions, like using a lubricant and trying different ways to connect. Margaret's story shows that breaking the silence, even when it's hard, can lead to a deeper, more fulfilling relationship. So why is communication the key to intimacy in your 60s? For one, it helps you navigate the physical changes that come with aging. Women might experience dryness, reduced libido, or discomfort due to menopause, while men might face erectile difficulties, lower testosterone, or slower arousal. These changes can feel isolating if you don't talk about them, but sharing your experiences can bring you closer. For example, if you're dealing with pain during intimacy, telling your partner allows you to work together on solutions, like adjusting positions or using aids. Communication also helps you address emotional changes. Talking about these feelings can help your partner understand what you're going through and support you in ways that reignite your connection. Another reason communication matters is that it helps you align your expectations. After decades together, or even in a new relationship, you and your partner might have different ideas about intimacy. One of you might want more physical closeness, while the other might value emotional connection more. Without talking, these differences can lead to misunderstandings or resentment. For instance, Clara, a 70-year-old from Arizona, noticed that her husband seemed less interested in sex after starting a new medication for high blood pressure. She felt rejected, but instead of letting it fester, she asked him about it. He admitted the medication was lowering his libido, and he'd been too embarrassed to say anything. Together, they decided to focus on non-sexual intimacy, like cuddling and shared hobbies, while he talked to his doctor about adjusting his prescription. That open dialogue saved their relationship from unnecessary strain. Now let's talk about how to start these conversations, because that first step can feel the hardest. The key is to create a safe, non-judgmental space where both of you feel heard. Choose a time when you're both relaxed, not right before or after intimacy, when emotions might be heightened. A quiet evening at home, over a cup of tea, can be a good setting. Start with a gentle opener, like, "I've been thinking about how we connect, and I'd love to talk about it." This invites your partner into the conversation without making them feel defensive. Be honest about your feelings, but also be curious about theirs. For example, you might say, "I've noticed I've been feeling a bit uncomfortable during intimacy lately, and I want us to enjoy it more. How have you been feeling?" This approach shows that you're in it together, not pointing fingers. It's also important to be specific about what you're experiencing. If you're dealing with physical changes, like dryness or erectile difficulties, say so. If you're feeling stressed or self-conscious, share that too. For someone like Edward, a 69-year-old from New York, this specificity was crucial. He'd been struggling with erectile dysfunction, but avoided the topic, worried his wife would think less of him. But one evening, he finally told her, "I've been having trouble lately, and it's making me feel anxious. I still want to be close, but I'm not sure how to make it work." His wife appreciated his honesty and suggested they talk to a doctor together. They also started exploring non-penetrative ways to be intimate, like massaging each other, which brought them closer. Being clear about your needs opens the door to solutions you might not find otherwise. Listening is just as important as speaking. When your partner shares their feelings, really hear them. Don't interrupt or jump to fix things. Reflect back what they've said to show you understand. Like, "It sounds like you've been feeling stressed, and that's making it harder to relax with me. Is that right?" This kind of active listening builds trust and makes your partner feel safe to open up. For example, Susan, a 65-year-old from California, noticed her husband seemed distant during intimacy. When she asked him about it, he admitted he felt self-conscious about his body after gaining weight. Susan listened without judgment and reassured him that she still found him attractive. That conversation helped them both feel more connected, and they started focusing on emotional intimacy, like sharing memories and laughing together, which naturally led to physical closeness. Sometimes, these conversations might bring up difficult emotions, like grief or fear. In your 60s, you might be dealing with the loss of a previous partner, health concerns, or the weight of aging. Talking about sex can surface these feelings, but that's okay. It's a chance to deepen your bond. For instance, Henry, a 73-year-old from Oregon, had lost his first wife to cancer before remarrying. When he started talking about intimacy with his new wife, he realized he felt guilty, like he was betraying his late wife's memory. His wife listened patiently and shared her own fears about aging. That mutual vulnerability brought them closer, and they found ways to honor their pasts while building a new connection. If these emotions feel overwhelming, consider talking to a therapist. Many in the U.S. are trained to help seniors navigate intimacy, and Medicare often covers these visits. Communication isn't just about addressing challenges, it's also about sharing what you enjoy and want more of. In your 60s, intimacy might look different than it did in your 30s, but it can be just as fulfilling, if not more so. Tell your partner what feels good, whether it's a certain type of touch, a slower pace, or more emotional connection. For example, Dorothy, a 70-year-old from Georgia, told her husband she loved when they spent time cuddling before being intimate. It made her feel safe and desired. He hadn't realized how much that meant to her, and once he knew, he made it a priority. That small act of communication deepened their physical and emotional connection, making intimacy more enjoyable for both of them. Studies from the National Institute on Aging show that couples who communicate openly about their desires report higher sexual satisfaction, proving that speaking up can enhance your experience. Talking about sex also means discussing safety, especially if you're in a new relationship or dealing with health issues. In the U.S., PSI rates among seniors are rising, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So if you're not monogamous, you'll need to talk about using condoms and getting tested. If you have chronic conditions, like heart disease, you'll need to discuss what's safe for you. Your doctor can help with this, but you'll need to share that information with your partner. For someone like Thomas, a 69-year-old from Virginia, this was a crucial conversation. He'd had a heart scare and was worried about exertion during intimacy. He told his wife, and they worked together to find low-exertion positions, like sideline, that felt safe. That dialogue ensured they could be intimate, without fear, strengthening their trust. If you're in a new relationship after 60, communication becomes even more important. You're starting fresh, and you might not know each other's histories, preferences, or health concerns. Be upfront about what you're looking for, whether it's companionship, emotional closeness, or physical intimacy. Share any health issues that might affect your sex life, like arthritis or medications that lower libido. For example, Clara, a 71-year-old from Arizona, started dating after her husband passed away. On her third date with Henry, she told him about her arthritis, which sometimes made intimacy painful. Henry appreciated her honesty and shared that he was on blood pressure medication that affected his libido. They decided to take things slow, focusing on emotional connection first, which made their physical intimacy more meaningful when it happened. Being open from the start sets a foundation for a healthy relationship. Sometimes, you might need to talk about intimacy beyond your partner with a doctor or therapist. In the U.S., many healthcare providers are trained to discuss sexual health with seniors, and they can offer solutions like lubricants, medications, or referrals to specialists. But you'll need to speak up about what you're experiencing. For instance, Linda, a 66-year-old from California, was struggling with vaginal dryness but felt too embarrassed to tell her doctor. After months of discomfort, she finally brought it up at a routine visit. Her gynecologist prescribed a vaginal moisturizer and recommended a lubricant, which made intimacy comfortable again. That conversation not only improved her sex life, but also gave her confidence to talk more openly with her husband. If you're unsure how to start, try saying, "I've been having some discomfort during intimacy, and I'd like to find ways to make it better." Most doctors will be glad to help. Therapy can also be a great resource, especially if you're struggling to communicate with your partner. Couples therapy or sex therapy can help you navigate difficult conversations and find new ways to connect. In the U.S., these services are increasingly available, often covered by Medicare, and many therapists specialize in working with seniors. For example, Edward, a 69-year-old from New York, and his wife went to a sex therapist after years of avoiding intimacy. They learned to talk about their desires and fears, like Edward's anxiety about erectile dysfunction and his wife's fear of rejection. The therapist gave them exercises, like taking turns sharing one thing they loved about their intimacy, which helped them rebuild their connection. Therapy isn't a sign of failure, it's a tool to help you thrive. Communication can also bring playfulness and creativity into your sex life. Talking about what you'd like to try, whether it's a new position, a lubricant, or a romantic date night, can make intimacy feel fresh and exciting. For someone like Henry, a 73-year-old from Oregon, this approach transformed his relationship. He and his wife had fallen into a rut, but one evening, they started talking about their early days together and what they'd loved about their intimacy. They decided to recreate a date night from their 20s, complete with dancing and a candlelit dinner, which led to a night of closeness that felt new again. Studies from the American Association of Retired Persons show that couples who experiment and communicate about their desires often report higher satisfaction, proving that talking can keep your sex life vibrant. Let's debunk a few myths while we're at it. Some people think talking about sex in your 60s is unnecessary, that if you've been together for decades, you should just know what your partner wants. But needs change with age, and assuming can lead to misunderstandings. Another myth is that discussing sex is awkward or shameful, but it's a natural part of any relationship, and most partners appreciate the honesty. Finally, some believe seniors don't need to talk about intimacy because it's not important at this age, but research shows the opposite. Intimacy improves mental health, reduces stress, and enhances overall well-being. Clearing up these misconceptions can free you to communicate without fear. Talking about sex can also have a ripple effect on your life. When you and your partner are on the same page, you're likely to feel more connected, which can reduce stress and improve your mood. It can boost your confidence, reminding you that you're still a vibrant, desirable person. For someone like Dorothy, a 70-year-old from Georgia, communicating with her husband about intimacy inspired her to join a community dance class, where she made new friends. The joy and trust from their conversations spilled over, making her feel more engaged with life. For caregivers or family members, supporting a senior's communication about intimacy is just as important. Encourage them to talk to their partner or doctor, and offer to help them find resources if needed. Small acts, like suggesting a therapist or listening without judgment, can make a big difference. As we wrap up, think about what communication means for your relationship. Maybe it's a heartfelt conversation that brings you closer, a playful chat that reignites your spark, or a shared moment of vulnerability that deepens your trust. Whatever it is, you deserve that connection, that joy, that sense of being fully seen. Talking about sex in your 60s isn't about perfection. It's about presence, and it's the key to a more fulfilling intimacy. So take a step today. Start a conversation, share a feeling, or ask a question. Your relationship and your life will be richer for it. Here's to breaking the silence, to deepening your bond, and to living with a heart wide open. Thank you for joining us on the Senior Health Channel, where we're all about helping you thrive. Keep shining, and we'll see you in the next guide.